Welcome to Social Media Connection. I'm Jay Deragon with the Relationship Economy.
And I'm David Bullock with the David Bullock Show.
And today we're going to have an exchange about whether do numbers really matter.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. You know, we were talking earlier about, some people just want to have the most connections on LinkedIn and the most followers on Twitter because somehow it gives them an ego boost or it gives them a pride of being big in the field of followers. David, what do you think?
It's quantity versus quality.
Quantity versus quality.
Right.
Okay.
You could have 10 million people following you, but if none of them actually take an action that, is valuable to you in your business, then you just have a bunch of people following you.
Well, wait a minute, David. Wait a minute.
Okay.
There's another theory.
Yes.
Okay? In the laws of 6 degrees, we're all connected by everybody by 6 degrees. If you've got 10 million people following you, say they don't take the action that you want, meaning making a sale.
Okay.
What about if they're telling somebody else who's they're connected to about your value proposition or about you? Does that not create value?
That does create value, but what that means is that you actually have to put something in the marketplace that they consider valuable that they are willing to pass on. Now, that goes back to content and context.
Okay, but wait a minute. We were just talking quality and quantity for a minute ago, so now you're shifting on me content to context. I want to stay with quantity and quality.
Well,
don't you need both? Think about it.
Well, here's the thing. If you have a lot of people that are following you, or a lot of people in your herd, so to speak, but you're not lending value to them, and they're not lending value to you.
I get that.
Okay. So I'm going to say then you may be wasting a lot of time. But I see the argument, well, if there's no one following you, then you don't have anything.
You don't have an audience.
You don't have an audience.
But wait a minute. If you've got 10,000 people on Twitter following you,
okay,
and you're like, some people take the attitude as, I don't even know what these people do for me. And really, that's an expectation that they're supposed to do something for you. But
right.
Wait a minute.
Right.
If you put something out of value to that audience, and they then retweet it back over to their audience, which is a different audience, that might create an attraction back to you from the right audience. Would you agree?
Right, but that goes back to, here's the part that is interesting. Creating value, or something that is valuable, or something that is remarkable so that people actually remark about it, that in itself is the skill. Too many times I think the emphasis is on gathering the contacts and gathering the audience. But now that you get the audience, the question that I have is, now what?
You're on it there.
Okay,
yeah.
Now what? See, so if we just talk about quality and quantity and then don't talk about what are you putting into the space that is valuable, then we've missed the boat. And I think that is the part that is missing oftentimes. We talk about getting all the people. We talk about creating the content. We talk about the context in general. We talk about the environment. We talk about the tools. We talk about the technology. But we don't talk about the value proposition, creating valuable, something of value, so they can actually be turned into currency. Currency has a piece of it that actually talks about an exchange.
Right.
Value. An exchange of value.
Knowledge.
Right.
That's an analogy I just thought of. If I had a football field, stadium, filled with people coming to that game to see the game, both teams, and then both teams decided to move it to a different field,
the crowd would follow them to the other field, because that crowd lends value in the activity of those two teams, and those people are bringing to that stadium their various different narratives, the stories of why they want to be there. Are they there on a date? Are they there to root on a team? Are they there to escape? Are they there for entertainment? See, all these narratives.
But let's play this analogy. How come the losing teams don't have good crowds?
Everyone wants to associate with a winner.
So, in the social media space, let's define what the winner is. Is it the number of people or the quality of content or both?
It could be both, depending on your orientation and your positioning in the space. And the position that you create in the space is your own doing. As a company and or an individual, what you put into the space, your positioning, what you put out there is purely up to you. And it's based on the content and the context in which you move in this space. So, what I'm finding is if you copy someone else in this space and you try to do what they're doing, guess what? You're not valuable. You're copying, you're emulating, and you're not as good as the original. So the key now with the social media situation, you can actually you're your own broadcast network. You're your own media space. You're your own outlet. you have to be very careful on what you put into the space.
And you have to create the value in the conversation. You know, Doc Searles in '99 wrote the book Clue Train Manifesto, and recently we did a post about it. But there's a cycle here of transformation, change. One, in the space, we put out a lot of information, conversations. And good business people understand that that amount of information, that if you vet it, means new knowledge. Could be new knowledge about the audience. What do they like?
Or
what
didn't
do they
like.
don't
Right.
like? From that knowledge, then they convert that knowledge into the production of something new, innovation. New service, new product, new conversation. And from that innovation, they create higher value, which then can turn to currency. An exchange of value, either monetary or an exchange of value could be a referral, that somebody's found something that they thought their business partner ought to know about or their supplier ought to know about, and they pass it on. And there goes the cycle. The currency keeps moving into the information, knowledge, innovation, and it does the currency again.
Well, we're in a situation now that if you go back to the old Peter Drucker books and you talk about knowledge work versus labor, we're in a knowledge economy now. And the thing is, knowledge is moving around so quickly based on the fact that the internet exists now. It's vast and it's fast. It moves.
Yeah.
So that means that whatever you knew yesterday may have been vetted and may be obsolete today, which means you have to look, you have to be on top of what's happening in the marketplace, the conversations in the marketplace about you, about your company, about your product. If you're not paying attention, guess what? People are talking about you.
And you know, you bring that up, and I know both of us are consumed with this space. And I know often my wife says, why? What is it that draws you to spend 12, 15 hours a day studying and engaging and looking at different things? And it's the very thing you said, this pace of change, that if I don't stay on top of it, I can't bring value to a client.
Well, see, that in itself is the value in itself, because you know that there's change, because you have the distinction of the evolution of the technology, and you know it's not static. We are no longer in a static situation.
Right.
You can't build it and hope that they come. It's dynamic, which means you build it and you modify it on a day-to-day basis. Like I was saying before, doing blog posts, putting web pages up, changing your business model, looking at your business model, testing, tracking, all these things allow you to move in the space because it's moving with or without you. You're caught up in the grand conversation or the grand current of the space. It's moving. The question is, are you going to dip your toe in and move along with it? Or are you going to take a position and let it just wash over you and let your competition go by you?
Or are you going to step in and create a change yourself?
Well, see, and that's the part which is so interesting now. Being that we're our own media outlets now, and that you can communicate to hundreds, thousands, and millions at the same time, you can create your own currents. You can create your own conversations. And I hate to say it, but there's something about, there's a power shift going on in the marketplace now that business owners really need to be.
They better pay attention.
Because it's happening.
It will hurt if you don't. Hey, David, this was incredible.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this. I hope you all enjoyed it. We're going to continue in this dialogue with more shows, more dialogue, and we're going to have guests on through Skype. And if you want to be a guest on our show, if you want to participate, let us know. Thanks for joining us today.
Take care.